Hello and welcome to one of the Illumination Center tutorials. In this guide, I'll be showing you how to resize images and give you a brief understanding of how images work in Photoshop. To start up here, you just want to create a new page, and I'm going to go with the presets web and then 1280 by 1024. Here, everything mostly here is fine. Background white, you could just put it transparent, it doesn't really matter because we'll be opening up an image. So click OK. When that's loaded, then you just want to, maybe if you want to go into full screen mode, just press the F key, which allows you to work in full screen mode. This is different for Windows and Mac. On Windows, your whole screen is taken up and you have to exit out every time you want to go onto other, but on the Mac you still have access to the bar at the bottom. To start off, we're going to open up an image. So if you hit Command, which is the Apple key, and O, or on a Mac, and on a Windows, if you press the Control and O, you'll open up a window of open image. Now search your computer here to find the image we want to do. So for our image, we'll be using this one here, and when that's loaded, you'll now obviously get the image loaded up here. Now first, you're going to want to double click where it says background here to unlock the layer. Call this whatever you want, just call this image or whatever. Also, you want to get into the habit of making sure that you name each image something descriptive so you don't lose it. This especially becomes helpful when dealing with a large amount of layers. Okay, so you've got the image size you want, but unfortunately it's not to the resolution you want and you can't show it on certain screens. I'll give you a quick brief on how Photoshop's work with images. An image like this is a bitmap, meaning that you can make it smaller to fit your size, and it looks fine, but the second you start to go larger, you start to get a bit pixelated. The way around this is using stuff called vectors. Unfortunately, Photoshop doesn't really deal in vectors apart from a few things such as the smart objects and a few others. So it's a lot better for stuff like logos and writing to stick to other programs like Illustrator. So once you have got your image open, I'm going to show you a few ways of resizing it. The easiest way is hitting Command T or Control T, which will bring up Free Transform. In here, you can move the image down. If you notice, the resolution doesn't get any worse. It looks a bit odd at first, but when you click, you can click Apply to Transform, and you notice that the blur gets fixed. You can also make it larger. As I've said before, when not using vectors and using bitmaps, you notice here that you start to get some blur. I'll just extend this out quite dramatically so you can really see what I'm talking about. So as you see now, and if we just zoom in a bit, you notice that we get the blur. Click here. It does fix a bit of it, but not as much as you would like. It's still got issues, which fortunately can't be fixed unless you've got a much larger image. So normally working with Photoshop, you would like to create a much bigger image and then shrink it down later, instead of having to be the annoying stage of where you've created a very good piece of work, but unfortunately it's too small for the desired needs. Also, a quick way of getting back is Control Z or Command Z, depending on which OS you're using, will take you back one step. Also, if you hold down Command Alt or Control Alt and Z, you can go back multiple steps. Otherwise, you just keep going back the last step, which can be an undo and then a redo. This helps you for if you're just testing stuff out, like you just want to just put. So here, you put this, but then you're not sure you'd like that, so you do Control Z, but then you want to try to get it back, Control Z. If you have down Alt when you do it, you take away all the line, or you take all your last actions away. You can go through 100 lines of your history, which unfortunately does go quite fast when you are doing a lot of work. So you want to make backups and other stuff like that. So when that's one way of using Free Transform. You've also got in Photoshop, it's locked again, let me just unlock it. You've also got the way that you can adjust the image in canvas size, image size. So if you come in here, you can directly fix it, which can normally be a lot more precise, and you can do this over in pixels and percent. If you go into height, you can change it, say if you need it to go to 500 by 300. Also, this is keeping it under constraint. And then in here, you can do it here. Also, if you don't want it constrained and you have a specific ratio, maybe sometimes when working with like phones, they normally have an odd ratio instead of like height over width instead. You can turn off the constraint and the scales, but I won't do that now. You've also got in the control T, if you click here, you get into the warp. So in here, not just can you transform this, but you can also actually move it around and resize it that way. This isn't as perfect, and it normally damages the image size unless you're doing it, but it doesn't really affect it in a awful way. Quick thing when trying to get round, if you hold down the Alt key, it allows you to zoom in and out, and depending where the mouse is, it like focuses on that area. So if you zoom out holding the mouse here, you're focusing on that area, and then so it's not really an easier way than actually just zooming out. Lastly, I'll just show you, so you've got the canvas size, which is a bit behind it, which doesn't really matter normally when you're working with this anyway. You've also got the image rotation, so if you want to fix if your photo took the camera sideways, if the camera took the photo sideways or something, I know some do that. We've also got all the stuff in here, the transform, but you can scale, rotate, skew, distort, perspective, warp, and then you can flip horizontally. That's pretty much it. This has been one of the tutorials for the Illumination Center on resizing images and the vector and bitmap images. Thank you.